My name is Courtney Barrett. Who's here with us today?
Bonjour, my name is Jeffrey Brown. Get you McCall Indigenous Cause. Um, Obashing and Dujaba, Magizi and Dudem. Good evening. We got a guest here, and he's gonna share some knowledge with us and some good stories, a lot of information, ceremony, traditions, all of it.
Hello, thanks for inviting me, guys. It's really good to be here. Good to share with the people a little bit of knowledge that I know. My name is Lee Lussier Jr. Honest Nini get you know in Indigenous Cause, Magizi and Dudem, Oga Conning and Dunjaba. So my Indian name is Big Win. I'm an Eagle Clan, and I live in back of town, Red Lake.
Oh, wow.
So really good to be here.
So, I want to start it off with, the Warrior Down program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The Warrior Down program originated in the late months of 1989. The late Adam Lussier and the late Adrian Lussier thought up about that program, and it's copyrighted to the Red Lake, the Red Lake Chemical Health Program. So it originated here at home. Although, like White Bison, they kind of grabbed it up and kind of took it as theirs, but it's ours. It belongs at home here. So back then, in 1989, that's when we started having really good basketball teams. Our teams are really kicking out some good games and winning tournaments and all of this and that, and district champions, and we were kind of on a rise, and you could really see how the community, the whole reservation, all 4 communities would come together, and those gyms would be packed, and they'd really be supporting the boys, really everything, if one of them sprained an ankle, we had everybody, some of our older elders calling, how is this guy or that guy, they okay? They were really behind everybody, they were behind our team. So Adam and Adrian's idea was, why can't we be like that on, that enthusiasm and get the community together to, help each other and use that kind of positive energy, So they wrote the Warrior Down program. And what it did basically was like an introduction into kind of training. It started out as a training, and they sat with me for probably about a week and taught me how to, present that and how to get that program going. So I started it at home. It started with eight girls and 8 boys. So we had 16 kids, and they ranged from 9th grade to 12th grade is what we started with. And what we would do is, we'd go out and I'd visit the school, and we'd have, I'd kind of ask the principal and the teachers and stuff, about some kids. And I left the sign-up sheet that time. Mm-hmm. Just left it on a desk in their office there. Who would you be interested in a Warrior Down? This is kind of what it kind of going to persist of. And this is what's going to go on and blah, blah, blah. If you're interested, sign up. Holy moly, I had a whole bunch of kids sign up for that. So that was good. So I'd come back and got all those kids in the room and kind of explain what I was trying to do and kind of really push the warrior mentality, helping people and stuff like that. Having them get Indian names and things like that. Boy, they really puffed them out. You could tell they were really proud when they would get their Indian names and stuff,
So when you picked out the Warrior Down kids, Was there a certain like an academic level you
Yeah.
were looking for?
Yep. Kind of put it on the kids, talk to the kids that they had to really become what you probably call like a role model. They would have to abide by this. They'd have to be willing to be drug free while they're in a program or working with me, hanging in there with me. So, I told them all of that. And I told them academically, I'm going to push them as well. They're going to have to attain at the very least the C level to be a part of the Warrior Down program. And I would go check. I really had a close relationship with the principal and, the school staff and stuff. So I'd go check in on the kids. And normally when you do that, they kind of, they kind of get mad or defensive. But these kids like that. They like someone cared and they're checking on them. So they kind of really strive to do better. Just with a little push, it'd be amazing with our children. What would happen when you give them a little pat on the back, give them a little push, boy, they can do a lot of things, So I got them kids and I set up a training, a 3-day training back then. And what we did was we incorporated, we talked with the kids and talked with our chemical health staff, and what was going on, what was all wrong with our people, what are we fighting, And Warrior Down refers to a person that is down, whether it be academically, whether it be chemically, whether it be mentally, spiritually, anything, that we'd consider that a warrior down. That's a warrior that's down. So the rest of the other ones would have to come forth and uplift and help that warrior, stand him up and get him going again, help him out with whatever was going on with him. So that was kind of the concept of the Warrior Down program. And back then, the things that we were kind of dealing with back in 1989 was, like teen suicide was big. Huffing,
Yeah.
sniffing. A lot of our kids, they'd have huffing parties back then. And that was one of our main subjects. And like I said, teen suicide, chemical use, all of this stuff. So we'd incorporate into that training. We would have the elders come in and the spiritual people come in, and we'd have some other professionals come in too to do the trainings. And the way we set up the trainings is, back then I figured, the kids would be bored if they were sitting there in a training and there was one person that was talking to them all day. I kind of thought about that because I was really into that. Was my job back then. I got, hired as a prevention specialist or in the free program. So we would I'd start the training. I'd figure out the training. First of all, we'd get all the kids, the 8 girls and 8 boys, and then I'd get the chemical health staff to help me chaperone them, stuff like that. So we'd get that all squared away. Then I'd take them away to a hotel, usually just in Bemidji, We'd take them over there and we'd get them all rooms and, we'd all bunk up, and then I'd reserve a conference room for 3 days over there from 8 in the morning till 5 in the evening. And during that time, that's when we'd get the training going. We'd start off right off the bat with, like a warrior training. What is a warrior? What does a warrior do? And then I'd have the elders come in, talk about that, give them their views, and then kind of know their roles as warriors and stuff. And after they got done with that teaching, then we'd go to some of the problems that we had on the wrist. So like teen suicide. So we'd bring in like one of the other the community, like in a community, or sometimes we'd get a professional, those people would like at the hospital or whatever to come in and speak about that.
Like whenever they would finish, did you guys have a ending date or when they would finish? Would you guys have a graduation or would they just be finished?
They'd just be finished with the training. And once they're finished with the training, then we would go to work. We would work. When the kids are trained in, they were also trained in like our counselor code. Everything that goes on is confidential. You're not to do this and that, So they kind of took on like our responsibilities as like counselors,
So when they got done, with the with the trainings, and say they got older, they were passing on the warrior down too, then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how it is. The get you dog. Then are you in contact with any of them now?
Oh yeah, they come in, they visit me. It's crazy this time at this point in life right now. They all are older and they got kids and big families, But we still keep in contact, and we're even thinking about me and Ash and different ones are thinking about having a reunion of the Wear Down program.
Yeah.
This today, just to get together and see how everybody's doing. With the Wear Down program, every year I'd lose, like kids would graduate,
Yeah.
and they would kind of start their own life, so they'd kind of phase out of the Warrior Down program. So every year I would get a new batch. So like I said, 9th to 12th grade, 8 girls and 8 boys. Every year I'll do that. Every year from 89 to 2001, I did that. So you can imagine how many kids went through there, And so after they graduated, I was kind of their outing of
Yeah.
the Warrior Down. And they would go on to do college or work or, do adult stuff when they're older. So that's why I kept it, bang, bang, bang. And pretty soon, it was just become like a cycle. We'd lose, 5, 6 Warrior Down kids because they graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd have some new ones each year come in, and then I just kept the ball rolling. We always had warriors and stuff. In that Warrior Down program, we had a conflict resolution. We trained them in conflict resolution. And back then, we kind of even went the Indian way that way, and we'd use tobacco when kids would get into a fight. And I'd take myself or one of our other staff, like say me and Jeff were, Warrior Down like coordinators, and we're working together as the adults. So one of us would go with the kids to the school, and we'd take a female and a male, and we'd take them in, and then we'd kind of set the tone in the room, and we'd kind of leave it, and we'd leave it to them kids to hash it out.
So would you, when you said hash it out, would you pass on tobacco to them?
Yep. Give each one tobacco. We'd smudge them, kind of open their minds a little bit, smudge them.
Yep.
And boy, that would really settle them down, and they're kind of glaring at each other. And so when you do conflict resolution, the kids would sit there and listen to them, and then they're kind of writing notes and stuff. And then after they were both done talking, then the Warrior Down kids that were trained, the male and the female, would talk to them and figure out a way to iron it out, and things would be better and stuff. A lot of the times, the kids wouldn't even know why they were fighting. They would just fight, so kids would write down, bang, 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 and this and that, and this and that, and you trace it all the way back. And sometimes it was the older family members that were egging it on because they hold grudges.
Yep,
You
yep.
know what I mean? And these kids didn't like that kid because this family didn't like that family, you know, and it goes back, and all of a sudden, you know, you squash it. And geez, after that, those kids are best buddies after that, you know? It really worked back then. And I think that's something that we should maybe bring back to the tribe to this day.
You know, that would be cool to see that, to see, you know, prevention specialists go into the school and have that,
Conflict resolution.
yeah, that'd be cool to see in the schools today.
Yep. And the way we back then, it's kind of old school, but the way we would do it is like we also gave each kid, so there's 16 of them, we'd give them beepers.
Oh, what?
Remember the old beepers
yeah.
back then? Yep. And I had a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
So something happened, you know, then I'd have, you know, like how you do on call, like at work, you go on call and you have like a week or so that you got to take, you know, our people to
Yeah.
detox or wherever, kind of on call 24/7, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I did that to the kids. So I had to take a male and a female, and I'd say, okay, you know, they all have beepers, but I'd say, okay, this week you and you, you know, or if anything comes up, then I'm going to beep you, and then they call me. And really proud to say that during that time as well, we had some calls. You know, that program was big. I mean, everybody loved that program on the res, and they knew about it, you know. Really admired the kids for doing that, stuff like that. The kids are really liking the elders, patting them on the back and pushing them along. Boy, the elders are always willing to share, you know. But I'm really proud of that program, and we saved some lives doing that.
Yeah, you know, I heard about that program, and that's why I wanted, you know, to bring you on the podcast so you can tell us about it. Very cool. It'll be to have that program, you know, and
Yep.
maybe someday we could bring it back.
Yeah, yep. We could bring it back to today and kind of figure it out because
Yeah.
we really need it today, you know. And the way I mean about save lives is a couple times we literally had kids call me and they were close to suicide.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kill myself, you know. Blah, blah, blah. Boy, 2 a.m, beep these 2 kids. They give me a call back on my cell phone. All right, I'm coming to get you, and we're going to see this kid, you know. And then we'd walk in there, knock, and then I'd take a male and a female kid again, talking to that little one, that youngster that's thinking about suicide, and they were trained in it, you know, how to help and what to do and stuff, and they'd go talk and they'd leave it, and the
Man, that's
kid
awesome.
would feel better, you
That's
know.
awesome.
So I think really we, you know, our kids back then saved some lives back then, you know, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So they really took it serious, you know, and one thing that our kids are really, really ready to soak in the culture and stuff now. So I think it would work again if, you know, they had a program like that or something heading that. And all you got to do is start it, man. It'll start to roll. You just watch, man. And it's amazing how it works better when kids deal with kids. I don't know, for some reason, it really works out well. And, you know, the people, our kids or our youth on the reservation can really, really use that now. You know,
Yeah.
'cause they're going through a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on up here right now.
Yeah, a lot of hard drugs, a lot of bullying, a lot of fights. You know, I think that program could, you know, step in and help some of that. You know, I kind of thrown it around, you know, and then I seen Carl that day, you know, and I really like what you guys are doing over there. And I was like, man, bring that concept back and check it out.
Oh, yeah? You guys
Yeah.
talked about it?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
And it'd be, you know, you could do that for the kids, But you can also do that for the adults either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can find some of them, especially, you know, in recovery nowadays. You know, there's healing. There's healing in that, helping other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really good on your, you know, like our other part. So maybe even it probably could even work for adults.
Yep,
You
for
know?
sure.
Get them trained and blah blah blah. You know, we'd have to figure it out how to do it.
No, we could, you know, we could sit down with Carl and
Mm-hmm.
we could figure it out, just like you said.
Yeah, yep. I think we can really implement that, and there's really a lot of areas that we can go into. You know, one of the things that's always really plagued our people is grief. Grief, you know, grief is really a hard thing, man. Because, you know, myself, you know, I lost a lot of people, lots of people. And I remember one day I was talking to my cousin Charlene Siddons, you know, my Uncle Tom's daughter, and she had her grandpa. And we were sitting at her grandpa and grandma were real old. I remember me and Spud, I call her, we were younger, we were sitting there and we were visiting with that old man because they're up from Cass Lake to visit Inger. So I think that's where they live, Inger. But anyway, they come up and he's real old, and me and Spud asked him, how does it feel to be that old grandpa, you know, blah, 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 blah. And that old man said, you know, it's good. I'm really lucky each day I wake up. He said, the hard part about it, being old and getting old and stuff, is you get lonely. You get really lonely because you miss a lot of people because everybody that you grew up with or you know passed away, you know. Back then, we looked at each other like, what? You know. Sure enough, you know, I understand what he's talking about, grief, you know. And grief is so, I don't know, it's a hard subject, you know, because grief, people handle grief kind of in their own way. So even as warriors or people, you know, you can't tell them, you know, as for part of grief, you do this like this and you this like that because that worked for you. Because whatever worked for you might not work for them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? They have their ways and they're at different stages of grief, you know? And that's why they tell us, you know, the Indian way is like, you know, that first year you got the right to cry. Shed tears, you know. Cry for that loved one. But, you know, you after that year is up, then you can't cry anymore, you know? And you go into your grief, and a lot of people jump into drugs that way.
Yeah.
You know, my dad worked in the field for years. I remember he sobered up in 1972. I was 4 years old. Man, I lived a good life with my dad and ma. They're both sober, never drank, never did drugs, nothing. Passed, you know, them passing away and stuff, man. I went through that grief, you know. And I think that's something that we really need to take a look at. And my dad always told me when he was, you know, it used to bug me because I'd hang in with my dad because my dad would hold AA meetings back then. And, you know, he always said, my name's, you know, I'd sit and listen, the younger guy. My name's Lee Lussier Jr. and I'm alcoholic. You know, I was like, finally that bugged me one day. I told my dad, I was like, man, you're not, why you keep saying you're alcoholic? You don't even drink anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So no, he said, I'm going to be alcoholic till the day I die. He said, you know, and this is like 1995, you know? He's been sober for 20 years or whatever. And he said, I'm always just one drink away, man, from putting myself back all the way back to 1972 when I quit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't understand what he meant, but now I do. And that's so crazy about, you know, things. It's like they tell you things as you go along in your life. Sometimes they don't make sense to you, but when you hit you hit a point where it makes sense. Oh, now I know what they were saying, you know. So it's good to soak in. It's good to use your tobacco. Really important, first and foremost, you know. Tobacco. That gives you the right. To ask questions, you know, to answer. Every time you have tobacco, I got tobacco in my hand right now.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of brings out, you know, the real stuff. You know what I mean? It helps
Comes
you
from the
with-
heart, huh?
Comes from the heart, yeah. Yep. And yeah, so tobacco use is vital, you know, and our people are kind of losing that. You know, me and Jeff, you know, we're kind of getting teachings and kind of moving along in the Indian religion and stuff like that. And people come almost every day, you know, I work at the tribal council. People come and they're always asking spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
Dreams, what about this? You know, can you help me with this and that? And asking like that. You know, and I just answer along, but really the old way and the way they're supposed to do it is give you some tobacco. And you offer tobacco, and then when somebody offers you tobacco, the old people say you accept it with a open left hand, because that's the closest to your heart.
That vein goes up to your heart, huh?
You're right on. That's the closest one. So that's what those old people say, you know. And that opens the door for a lot of things. That's kind of our telephone into the spirit world even, you know. There's so much power in that tobacco. But that should be first and foremost, you know, using your tobacco, learning about tobacco. The thing about elders too, you know, I wanted to bring up is that they're out there and they're willing to share. They're willing to share, but they're not going to come out and say, hey, come see me. I know this and I know that. And, you know, so I always tell you, you got to seek them out, you know. Don't be afraid to go ask them. And you got to watch out, because there's no lying. Everything's honesty and stuff like that. So you got to, you know, like when they pass tobacco, you got to ask them first, what are you asking me? You know. Because if you offer tobacco and they hand it to you, and then they ask you something, you know, you're bound to that.
Yeah.
You know, you're locked into whatever they're asking you, and you never know what they're gonna ask you. So, you know, you gotta ask them first. Yep. What do you want? What are you asking, or what do you want? You know.
So, you know, we talked about the Warrior Down program. You know, we talked about greed. We talked about tobacco. Can you talk about a little bit the drum?
The drum?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I've always been around singing since I was little, like real young. I used to watch my dad and them sing. And back then they were called White Buffalo. Back in probably 74, 75. My mom's brother, Johnny, and my auntie, Randy Johnson, John Tyler, you know, Willie Tyler's dad, Tiny Ballinger, Daniel Ballinger, Giles Hart, you know, they all sang on that drum. So I remember that's my first memory of like being around drums, you know, and then I'd go to powwows when I was younger and listen and stuff. And finally, first thing I did in my life was play moccasin game. Played moccasin game when I was young. Those old men taught me, Doc Jones and old man from Mille Lacs, Freddie Jackson, you know, some of them old guys.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys, and we met up with some guys from Roseau. So that was my introduction, kind of more into my culture.
Yeah.
So I started to play moccasin game first, go to tournaments at powwows all over. You know, one of these days, maybe we can get one of them guys, like I know Charlie knows it. Rod Spank White knows it. Larry Vanwert knows it. Man, I got nicknames for everybody. Call Larry Vanwert Tub because he's a chubby guy, you know. But yeah, so I started playing boxing game, and then after that, I danced traditional for probably 2 years, 3 years maybe. After I danced, then I started getting into singing. And that's when Adrian stepped in and taught me, come on over and let's sing, So I went over and he, kind of learned how to sing. And one time I got home and my dad said, come here, I got something for you. We went downstairs and he gave me a drum. It's just one-sided drum and it had a deer skin on it. And he bought it from Glennie Joe, the late Glennie Joe Polio. So that was my first drum I had. And there's a kind where you tighten them up. Bing, 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 It was good, man. We sang on it and stuff.
Bass drum?
Yeah, like old bass drum. Yeah. And then after a while, I really liked the way I was at a Paul one time and Whitefish bass singers are there. And plus I seen like the older drums, the traditional big drums, I watched them and I liked how they sounded, boom, 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 kind of bassy, So I wanted to I wanted to make one of them. I really loved the way they sound and, the power that they give off. And so I got that. And anyways, the late Gerald Hawk, the Hawk boys, Michael Hawk, I told him about it, and he was part of the Kingbird Singers. So he said, buy a hide, he said, he gave me specific instructions. He's like, buy a kip hide.
A kip hide?
Yeah, what is it? I said, what is a kip hide, He said, it's not a small cow, and it's not a big, massive cow. He said, it's right in the middle. So you get that from somewhere. They'll tell them you want a kip hide, and they'll know what to send. They'll know what you're looking for. Okay. So sure enough, and then we got a hold of Cosmos Taxidermy. It's on the other side of St. Paul. And, man, they got a old Chimokamon guy that runs that. Man, he really knows about Indian stuff. Here, you want this one because there's no weak spots. He's explaining me and Darren Defoe, the late Biscuit. So we went and got that hide and stopped in Bemidji. Mike lived in Bemidji, so he dropped that hide off to him, and he said, give me 2 days. He said, then we'll do something. I'll show you how to make that drum. It's like, okay. Went over. He called a couple days later. He called, and he must have been soaking that hide in water for a couple days, soften it up. So we went over there, me and Biscuit, or Darren, and Randy Johnson, and John Morris Sr. So I call them Biscuit, Duke, and Monkey. Like I said, I got nicknames for everybody. But we went over there one evening, and we took my little bass drum over there. Mike took all the stuff off, took that hide off, and then he showed us how to, measure it out. So we measured it out, and we had to give it some little bit, like 3 inches on each side or whatever, and then cut it out. We had to cut 2 heads because we wanted it 2 sides.
Yeah.
And then he showed us how to cut lace. So we're sitting there cutting lace, and finally he's showing us how to puncture, the holes so we can put the things through. So he taught us how to do that. We were sitting there watching him, helping him. He taught us about the warrior stitch, how those cross. So there's a certain way that you skip this hole and go put it in that one, and then you bring that other one and come this way, and ends up being like an X on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the warrior X on the drum. So after that, we got it all strung up. Man, it took us like 6 hours, 7 hours. You know, he was really teaching us, talking. So after we got that drum all done and stuff, he's like, okay, now you got to store it. He said, you got to store it at room temperature for 4 days. He said, don't try to put it in a hot room or try to, you know, make that hide dry fast. He said, let it dry at room temperature. After it's ready, he said, then you find a medicine man, you take it to a medicine man, have him bless it, and then he'll tell you where it goes. You know, I was thinking, what do you mean? Where does it go? It's my drum, you know? He's like, no, it don't work like that. He said, they'll tell you in the ceremony if that's yours or if that goes somewhere else, you know? Because once you put those hides on there, then that becomes like an thing, you know? It's alive. There's a spirit in those drums, you know? So you got to carry them different. You have to really be respectful and stuff like that. You know, you have to really take care of them good. You got to feed them. You got to feed that drum spirit, you know. So let me get back into that story. So after that, drum was ready, and we took it out to Adam. We asked Adam to bless our drum and do ceremony and find out where that drum goes, you know. So we went out there, you know, took him gifts and tobacco. He accepted our tobacco and he put us in a sweat lodge first. So we went through the sweat with the drum on the altar, and then after we were done, we went inside and took the drum in there, and he was speaking to the drum and talking up to the drum for a while, and then he sat down and he told us that, no, that's your drum. That belongs to you, he told me. He said, and that drum is Eyabay. That's Eyabay. He said that Eyabay money do in that drum. Cool, you know, because we didn't have a name.
Yeah.
Even with that little bass drum, we were going around to the area pause and we were making up crazy names.
So is that how Eyabay started?
Yep, that's where it started.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Back in our drum was named Eyabay, and he told us that was like the big buck.
Yeah.
Big buck with the big rack, you know. And that's the way we see the Eyabay and stuff. So that's why you see like on my shirt.
Yeah.
I always have the buck on there.
So one thing too is so this grant is based on 7 grandfathers.
Mm-hmm.
Right behind me is those 7 grandfathers, and there's a little guy down there getting some teachings, and I just want you to fill in on a little bit of what you know about them 7 grandfathers. You can share with us.
You know, just pick one. You know, because there's 7 of them, and that's probably gonna take a while.
Yeah.
You know, which one sticks up the most to you?
Probably, geez, a lot of them do, but I think probably the ones that I would speak on is probably respect.
Respect.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So respect to us, you know, and that was taught to us by the drum. A lot of stuff was taught through the drum, you know. And we got teachings, you know, Adam and like Grandma, we call her Grandma Ennis Johnson. The late Warren Stilday out of Benema, Mille Lacs. We had Dorothy Sam. We had some of them Sams down there from the big drum teaching me too, you know. So, you know, they told us how we have to be around the drum and how we have to carry ourselves now, being that we're like big drum, you know, and kind of like the warriors and stuff like that. So we had to carry ourselves in a respectful way. Because Adam told us, you know, as you guys get going and stuff, he said, That drum will take you as far as you need to go. You want to go, he told me. But when you go, he said, you got to carry yourself with a lot of respect. You got to carry yourself like good people, good strong warriors, he said. So, reason for that being, he said that, you know, you guys are going to become role models whether you want to be or not. You know, so you got to show, be respectful. So you got all those kids out there watching, you know, and they're going to see how you guys do, you know. And I was thinking, man, you sound terrible right now. How the hell are we going to do that, you know? But sure enough, we end up taking off at the drum and, you know, respect. We respected everybody, respected the singers. And we got to know a lot of people.
Yeah, you guys went all over.
Yeah, we went all over from East Coast, West Coast, every province in Canada we went to. From British Columbia all the way east to as far as we could go.
Yeah.
And then, just carrying that respect for the drum. And, you know, we teach people, sure enough, people would come up, like little guys would come up, and we'd always have them hanging around, you know. And out of respect, remember that old man from Panema, George White Sr.? He always told us never, he said, those drums will always attract those little ones. He said, and they come bang and stuff. He said, don't be telling me, don't you ever chase them away and shoo them away. He said, they have a right to be at that drum as much as you do. So I always remembered that, and I swear to Creator, man, every pole we went to, there's always little, you know, 3, 4, 5-year-olds coming up to the drum, grabbing our sticks, and you know.
Yeah.
But we showed them little ones respect. You know, parents would come and, oh, no, get out of there, you can't do that. No, it's okay. You know, they belong on that drum too. They can hit it stuff they want to.
Yeah.
You know. So we really carried ourselves in a good way, and that goes a long way. You know, our kids really, everywhere really looked up to that, you know, and we always respected everybody and show respect and you get respect.
Yeah, for sure.
So just like how those, how your drum is all tied up, like how was it called? The Warriors? Warrior stitch? Like all of those too are like all connected.
Yep.
It's like you give one, you get another one. It's all them things are different. And they're all connected in one way or the other.
Yep.
You give respect, you're going to get love.
Yep.
All that. You have love, and you're going to have some wisdom. You know, they're all connected like that. That's what I thought about when I think about those 7 grandfathers.
Yeah.
You can share about all of those things, but maybe respect is a good one. I don't know how to say that in Ojibwe. I think that's Manaji Eyabay. Either it's one of them.
Yeah.
One of them. I don't know if that's the word or what. But it's just an honor for you to come on here and share your knowledge and get this on tape, man. We have a lot. We're gonna have a lot of other. We're gonna have a guest next week that does that warrior, that one Anton Troyer. Yeah, he's gonna be here next week. So.
Oh, he's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, everybody, and we got some good speakers going to be coming in and sharing stuff, and we're going to try to cover each and every one of those things. He got respect, so your next one can pick some other topic, and then it was just an honor to have you here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys, sir, inviting me and being able to share a little bit, you know. And it's really good. I'm really glad we're kind of getting up to date with, you know, you guys recording these things and then having them on file. So later on down the road, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, and they can get all these teachings that you guys are getting people to come in on. You know, it's really good. It's really gonna go a long ways. I think it's gonna be really a good thing. So you guys are really doing a good thing.
Language.
Yep. And
Thank you.
I hope you have success for the rest of the year. And, you know, like I said, you know, we'll keep in touch even more now, you know.
Yeah.
Keep in touch more. I would definitely, you know, go, you know, one of these times, go hang out with a group of you guys and have another session and teach you guys about Warrior Down and
Yep.
what can we pull from that, or how you guys want to do it now and give it a whirl. But I think it would really be awesome to get that program rolling again. I think it would work.
Yeah, for sure, man. I want to see it. It sounds, you know, when you were talking about it, you know, it sounded like it helped out a lot.
Yeah. Yep. And like with everything, the reason why I say, you know, we got to find out how it is now, because, you know, it's many years later and we're at this point in time. So we're going to have to kind of adapt a little bit,
Change it up a little
change
bit.
it up a little bit and figure it out as you go along. It's always the best way. You know? Just like when we talk here and we have our tobacco and we, you know, stuff like that, and good things will come from that.
Yeah.
You know, those teachings, even just a little bit I was able to share, you know, use it. Those old men always told me, and I always share that with all the people and my kids especially, you know. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but it ain't going to do you any good if you don't apply it. You know, so you got to use your teachings. You got to use the 7 grandfather teachings, and that's why, you know, what we try to live by each day. You know, try to do the best that we can. Get up in the morning, do the best that you can. You know, that's all. Spirits always know, you know, as long as you're doing good, then, you know, Cork, as you know, Jeff knows good things are put in front of you in your path when you get up and do the best you can. Because none of us are perfect. We never were, never will be. But as long as we just wake up each day and try the best that we can and try to live the warrior way and live by the 7 grandfather teachings, then things will go really good for us.
All right, me good.
Yep. Thanks for coming on.
Me know.
Oh, me gwitch.
You guys have a good night.
I hope.